When a man begins to lose love for you, the first signs are often subtle but significant. He might not come right out and say it, but his actions will reveal his changing feelings. One of the first things he does is withdraw emotionally. Conversations that used to be deep and meaningful now feel shallow or forced. He stops sharing his thoughts, dreams, and concerns with you like he once did. Instead of confiding in you, he may choose to keep things to himself or even share them with someone else. You might notice that he no longer asks about your day with genuine interest. The warmth in his voice diminishes, and his responses become shorter and less engaging. You start feeling like you're talking to a stranger rather than your partner. Emotional distance is one of the clearest indicators that love is fading. Another early sign is a lack of effort in the relationship. A man who once planned dates, surprised you with small gestures, or made time for you now seems uninterested. He no longer puts in the effort to make you feel special or appreciated. Special occasions like anniversaries or birthdays may pass without much thought from him. Even daily interactions become routine and devoid of affection. He might cancel plans more frequently or show little enthusiasm when you suggest spending time together. If he used to text or call you regularly, those interactions might become infrequent or feel obligatory. When love starts to fade, effort diminishes and you begin to feel like you are the only one trying. It's as if he is no longer invested in keeping the relationship alive. The shift in his behavior might not be abrupt, but it is noticeable over time. You begin to sense a distance that was never there before. He may still be physically present, but emotionally he feels miles away. Little things that used to make him happy, like your jokes or affectionate gestures, no longer spark the same reaction. You might notice him scrolling on his phone more when you're together, prioritizing social media or work over quality time. He stops engaging in conversations about the future, leaving you wondering where the relationship stands. The feeling of being valued and cherished slowly fades, replaced by an unsettling sense of indifference. You start questioning if he still cares, or if you are simply holding on to memories of how things used to be. Communication also changes drastically when love begins to fade. At first, you may notice him becoming less responsive to your texts or calls. Messages that used to be answered quickly now take hours or even days to get a reply. When you do talk, conversations feel forced and lack emotional depth. He may not ask follow-up questions or seem engaged in what you are saying. Sometimes he might even avoid certain topics or shut down discussions altogether. If you bring up concerns about the relationship, he might brush them off or dismiss them as unimportant. You feel like you are always the one initiating conversations while he responds with minimal effort. The lack of meaningful communication leaves you feeling isolated and unimportant in his life. Another indication is a noticeable change in his attitude toward you. A man losing love for you will start showing signs of irritation over things that never used to bother him. Small habits of yours that he once found cute or endearing now seem to annoy him. He may become more critical, pointing out flaws or making unnecessary negative comments. Instead of uplifting you, he might make you feel insecure or like you are doing something wrong. Arguments may increase with him becoming more defensive or unwilling to resolve conflicts. He could start using sarcasm or passive-aggressive remarks instead of openly expressing his feelings. The kindness and patience he once had for you start to fade, replaced by frustration and emotional distance. His priorities also start to shift away from you. A man in love will make time for you no matter how busy he is. But when he starts losing love, he gradually stops prioritizing you in his life. He might begin spending more time with friends, working later, engaging in new hobbies without including you. Invitations to events become rare, and he no longer makes an effort to include you in his plans. Even when you are together, his mind seems to be elsewhere. You feel like an afterthought rather than a significant part of his life. This change in priority signals that he is emotionally disconnecting and possibly preparing for a life without you. Physical affection also tends to decrease when a man starts losing love. The kisses, hugs, and intimate moments you once shared become rare or feel forced. He may no longer hold your hand or make spontaneous gestures of affection. If you try to initiate physical contact, he might pull away or show disinterest. Even when you are close, there's an emotional barrier between you. The passion that once existed in the relationship fades, making interactions feel more like routine rather than expressions of love. Physical intimacy is a reflection of emotional closeness. So when it declines, it often signals a deeper issue. You start feeling like a stranger to him rather than someone he once adored. His interest in your life and well-being also starts to diminish. A man who loves you will want to know about your day, your thoughts, and your emotions. But when love fades, he becomes indifferent to your experiences. He stops asking about your feelings or supporting you through tough times. If you share something important, his reaction might feel uninterested or dismissive. He no longer celebrates your achievements or comforts you in moments of sadness. This emotional detachment leaves you feeling unappreciated and unseen. You begin to wonder if he even cares about what happens in your life anymore. His lack of concern is a painful reminder that his feelings are not the same as they once were. One of the most telling signs is his reluctance to discuss the future with you. A man in love will talk about long-term plans and make you feel secure about where the relationship is heading. But when he starts losing love, he avoids these conversations. If you ask about future trips, moving in together, or even small commitments, he may change the subject or give vague answers. He no longer reassures you about the relationship's stability, leaving you feeling uncertain. His avoidance suggests that he is either unsure about his feelings or already considering an exit. The lack of commitment to the future is a strong indication that his heart is no longer fully invested. Another significant change is the way he interacts with other women. While it's normal to have friends of the opposite sex, a man who is losing love for you might start behaving differently. He may become overly friendly with other women, engaging in flirtatious conversations or seeking attention outside the relationship. If you express concern, he might dismiss it as jealousy or say you're overreacting. You notice him liking and commenting on other women's posts while ignoring yours. The emotional investment he once had in you starts shifting elsewhere. His behavior makes you feel insecure and uncertain about your place in his life. This shift often signals that he is emotionally detaching from the relationship. When a man starts losing love, these signs are his way of pulling away. The emotional connection weakens, and his actions show that he is no longer as invested as he once was. While the process may be gradual, the signs are clear if you pay attention. His lack of effort, emotional withdrawal, and growing distance are all indicators of fading love. Recognizing these early signs can help you decide how to address the situation. Understanding what is happening allows you to have honest conversations and determine the best way forward. A relationship should be built on mutual love, effort, and commitment, and when those things fade, it's important to acknowledge the reality of the situation. When a man begins to lose love for you, his actions will make it clear, even if he doesn't say it directly. One of the next things he does is create emotional distance between you. You may notice that he stops sharing personal thoughts, concerns, or feelings like he used to. Conversations that once felt deep and meaningful now seem dull or forced. He may start answering your questions with short, vague responses instead of engaging in real dialogue. When you ask him how he feels, he avoids the topic or changes the subject. it starts to feel like he is emotionally unavailable, leaving you confused and disconnected. You might feel like you are the only one making an effort to keep conversations alive. He no longer expresses interest in your emotions or experiences, making you feel invisible. Over time, this emotional gap grows wider, making the relationship feel like a distant memory. Another major shift happens when he starts prioritizing other things over you. A man in love makes time for his partner, no matter how busy he is. But when he begins to lose love, his priorities change, and he no longer includes you in his plans. He might start spending more time with friends, working late, or focusing on hobbies without considering how it affects you. When you try to make plans together, he suddenly has other commitments or simply isn't interested. You notice that he rarely initiates quality time and prefers to be elsewhere rather than with you. Even when you do spend time together, he may seem distracted or disengaged. His body is present, but his mind is somewhere else, making the time you share feel empty. You start feeling like an option rather than a priority in his life. This shift in priority signals a clear emotional detachment. Another noticeable sign is the decline in physical affection. In the early stages of love, touch is natural, effortless, and frequent. But when a man starts falling out of love, the physical connection between you starts to fade. Hugs, kisses, and small gestures of affection become rare or feel forced. He may stop holding your hand or avoid eye contact during intimate moments. If you try to initiate physical closeness, he might pull away or seem uninterested. The passion that once brought you closer now feels absent, making you question his feelings. Even if he still engages in physical intimacy, it might feel routine rather than emotionally meaningful. There's a difference between physical attraction and emotional connection. And when love starts to fade, so does the warmth behind his touch. This lack of affection is one of the strongest signs that his heart is no longer fully in the relationship. His patience with you also starts to run thin. Things that never used to bother him suddenly become sources of frustration. He may criticize you more often, pointing out your flaws rather than appreciating your qualities. Instead of showing understanding and support, he becomes quick to anger over small issues. Simple conversations turn into arguments, and he seems less willing to resolve conflicts in a healthy way. His tone may become more dismissive, sarcastic, or even condescending. You feel like you have to be extra careful with your words to avoid upsetting him. The kindness and affection he once showed start to disappear, replaced by coldness and irritation. It feels like he's constantly finding reasons to push you away rather than bring you closer. This change in attitude makes the relationship feel tense and emotionally draining. One of the most painful signs is his growing indifference toward your feelings. A man who once cared deeply about your happiness and well-being now seems unconcerned. If you are upset, he no longer makes an effort to comfort or understand you. Your emotions feel like an inconvenience to him, rather than something he wants to support. When you try to express your needs, he may ignore them or dismiss them as unimportant. Instead of listening and offering reassurance, he might say things like, "You're overreacting," or "I don't want to talk about this." His lack of empathy makes you feel emotionally abandoned, even when he is physically present. The emotional support that once formed the foundation of your relationship is now missing. You start feeling like you are on your own, even though you are supposed to be in a partnership. Another clear indication is his unwillingness to put effort into the relationship. A loving partner will try to resolve issues and keep the connection alive. But when a man is falling out of love, he stops trying. He no longer puts in the effort to make things work or address problems. If you express concerns, he may act indifferent or say it is what it is. The enthusiasm he once had for planning dates, making memories, or even having meaningful conversations disappears. He becomes passive, leaving all the work to you while he emotionally checks out. It feels like you are the only one holding the relationship together with little to no effort from him. The love, care, and commitment that once made the relationship special are now absent. His inaction speaks volumes, showing that he is no longer invested in making things better. Another heartbreaking sign is his growing interest in other people. While it is normal for everyone to have friends and acquaintances, a man losing love for you may start seeking attention elsewhere. He may become more flirtatious, engage in conversations with other women, or show excitement about spending time with others. If you bring up your concerns, he might accuse you of being insecure or controlling. You notice that he is more active on social media, liking and commenting on other women's posts while ignoring yours. He might start keeping his phone away from you or acting secretive about his messages. These behaviors suggest that he is emotionally detaching from you and redirecting his attention elsewhere. While he may not be openly cheating, his actions show that his heart is no longer fully committed to you. This shift in interest is a painful yet undeniable sign of fading love. His body language also reveals a lot about his feelings. In the past, he may have leaned in when you spoke, made eye contact, and smiled warmly at you, but now his posture is closed off and he avoids looking at you for long. He may sit farther away, cross his arms, or even turn his body away when you're together. These nonverbal cues show that he is distancing himself emotionally and physically. When love is strong, body language reflects closeness and connection. But when it fades, his gestures become cold and detached. You feel the shift in energy even when no words are spoken. It is as if an invisible wall has been built between you, making intimacy feel impossible. His lack of enthusiasm in being physically near you is another sign that his feelings are changing. Another major sign is his reluctance to talk about the future. A man in love enjoys discussing plans, whether big or small, because he envisions a future with you. But when he starts losing love, he avoids future conversations altogether. When a man is losing love for you, his actions start to show in ways that become harder to ignore. One of the clearest signs is his lack of interest in resolving conflicts. In the past, when problems arose, he might have worked with you to find a solution, but now he either avoids discussions altogether or treats them like a burden. If you try to express your concerns, he dismisses them, saying things like, I don't want to argue, or it's not a big deal. Instead of listening and trying to fix things, he shuts down emotionally. He may even walk away mid-conversation, refusing to acknowledge your feelings. This avoidance makes it feel like your concerns are not valid or important to him. When a man stops fighting for the relationship, it often means he no longer cares. Enough to make things better, you start feeling like you are talking to a wall instead of a loving partner. Another painful shift is when he starts making you feel like a burden rather than a priority. A man in love enjoys spending time with his partner no matter how busy he is. But when love fades, he starts acting like your presence is an inconvenience. He may sigh when you ask him to do something together or respond with reluctance. You start feeling like you have to beg for his time and attention. Even when he does spend time with you, his energy feels distant, like he's just going through the motions. When you text or call, he may respond late or act irritated that you reached out. The warmth and excitement he once showed now feel forced or completely absent. His actions make you question whether he even enjoys being with you anymore. Instead of feeling cherished, you start feeling like an unwanted obligation in his life. One of the hardest things to accept is when he stops appreciating you. In a healthy relationship, love is shown through gratitude, compliments, and recognition of each other's efforts. But when a man loses love, he stops noticing the little things you do. You could cook his favorite meal, dress up for a date, or support him in difficult times, but he no longer acknowledges it. Instead of saying thank you or expressing appreciation, he acts as if your efforts don't matter. You begin to feel invisible, as if nothing you do is enough to make him care again. The compliments he once gave you so freely are now non-existent. If anything, he may become more critical, focusing on your flaws rather than your strengths. The lack of appreciation makes you feel undervalued and unloved. No one wants to feel like they are giving their all to someone who doesn't even notice. Another warning sign is when he becomes emotionally unpredictable. One moment he might act normal, and the next he seems cold and distant. His mood swings leave you confused, unsure of where you stand with him. He may go from being affectionate to indifferent without any clear reason. Some days he responds to your messages instantly, other days he ignores you completely. This inconsistency creates emotional anxiety, making you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells. You start questioning whether you did something wrong, even when you know you haven't. His behavior becomes less about love and more about control, whether intentional or not. The emotional roller coaster drains you mentally, making the relationship feel unstable. A loving partner provides security, not confusion, and when that changes, it's a clear sign of fading love. His lack of excitement about shared moments also becomes evident. A man who loves you will find joy in the simple things, like watching a movie together, going on a walk. But when his love starts to fade, he loses enthusiasm for these moments. He may seem bored, distracted, or uninterested even when you're doing something fun together. If you plan something special, he might not react with the same excitement he used to. You notice that he stops initiating activities, leaving all the effort up to you. Even when you're in the same room, it feels like he is mentally somewhere else. The joy and laughter that once filled your time together are replaced with silence or distant conversations. You start to feel like you are experiencing the relationship alone, without his active participation. When a man stops finding happiness in your presence, it often means his feelings are fading. Another painful change is how he talks about the relationship. In the past, he might have spoken about you with pride and excitement, but now his tone has changed. And he talks about the relationship as if it's a burden. If his friends or family ask about you, he may give vague or indifferent responses. He no longer expresses happiness when talking about your future together. In some cases, he may even start making negative comments about the relationship. If you bring up your shared memories, he seems uninterested or even annoyed. The way he speaks about the relationship reveals how he truly feels inside. When a man is still in love, his words reflect appreciation and commitment. But when love fades, his words become cold, distant, or indifferent. Paying attention to how he talks about you and the relationship can reveal a lot about where his heart stands. His willingness to compromise also begins to disappear. In a loving relationship, both partners make sacrifices and adjustments to keep each other happy. But when love fades, he stops making an effort to meet you halfway. Instead of considering your feelings, he starts prioritizing only his needs. If you ask him to do something small for you, he may refuse or make excuses. He no longer cares about finding solutions that work for both of you. This selfish behavior makes you feel unimportant, as if your needs don't matter anymore. Love requires teamwork, but when he stops compromising, the relationship feels one-sided. You find yourself making all the sacrifices while he refuses to do the same. This lack of effort and consideration is a strong sign that his love is no longer present. Another heartbreaking sign is when he stops defending or protecting you. Man in love naturally wants to stand by his partner and support her in difficult situations, but when love fades, he stops showing this protective instinct. If someone disrespects you, he may remain silent instead of standing up for you. He no longer reassures you when you feel insecure or doubtful. If you express that something is bothering you, he might dismiss it instead of comforting you. This emotional neglect makes you feel abandoned even when he's physically present. Love is about making your partner feel safe, but when he stops doing that, the bond weakens. Feeling unprotected in a relationship creates a deep sense of loneliness. It becomes clear that he no longer sees you as someone he wants to shield from pain. Another clear indication is when he starts keeping secrets from you. In a healthy relationship, trust and openness are key elements that strengthen the connection. But when love fades, he may start hiding things from you, becomes more secretive with his phone, his schedule, or even his thoughts. If you ask him a simple question about his day, he may give vague answers. He stops sharing details about his life the way he used to. If you notice changes in his behavior, he might get defensive or irritated when you ask about them. This secrecy creates a distance that didn't exist before, making you feel like an outsider in his life. Trust begins to erode, and you start wondering what else he's not telling you. When a man no longer values honesty and transparency, it's a major sign that his love is fading. When a man begins to lose love for you, these changes in behavior become more noticeable. His lack of effort, emotional distance, and unwillingness to communicate are all warning signs. Recognizing these shifts can help you understand what is really happening in your relationship. When love is strong, it is shown through actions, consistency, and care. But when it fades, the signs become impossible to ignore. When a man loses love for you, one of the most painful changes is his lack of emotional support. In the past, he was there to encourage you, comfort you, and celebrate your achievements. But now he barely acknowledges your struggles or successes. If you're having a tough day, he shows little interest in how you feel. When something good happens, he no longer shares in your excitement or offers words of encouragement. It feels as if your emotions don't matter to him anymore. He may even act annoyed when you try to confide in him, making you feel like a burden. Instead of being the person you turn to for support, he becomes someone who makes you feel more alone. The deep emotional connection that once made the relationship strong now feels weak and one-sided. Without emotional support, a relationship begins to feel hollow and unfulfilling. Another painful shift is when he stops respecting your opinions and decisions. In a loving relationship, both partners value each other's thoughts and ideas. But when love fades, he may start dismissing your perspective without consideration. If you try to express how you feel about something, he may brush it off or act as if your input doesn't matter. He might interrupt you in conversations, talk over you, or roll his eyes when you speak. This kind of disrespect makes you feel unimportant and unheard. Over time, you may begin to second guess yourself because he no longer values what you have to say. A partner who once admired your intelligence and respected your thoughts now disregards them. This change in behavior is a clear indication that he is emotionally distancing himself. When respect starts to fade, love is usually not far behind. Another noticeable sign is his lack of accountability in the relationship. In the past, he may have been willing to take responsibility for his mistakes and work on improving them, but now he refuses to acknowledge when he's wrong or when his actions hurt you. Instead of apologizing, he may become defensive or shift the blame onto you. If you bring up a problem, he might say things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You're making a big deal out of nothing." This unwillingness to take responsibility creates frustration and emotional exhaustion. You feel like you are constantly fighting for him to recognize your feelings, but he refuses to see his part in the issues. Love requires both partners to be accountable and willing to grow together. When he stops caring about his actions and how they affect you, it's a sign that his feelings have changed. His communication also starts to decline in a way that feels deliberate. A man who once enjoyed long conversations with you now barely speaks unless necessary. He no longer texts you first or checks in to see how your day is going. If you try to start a conversation, his responses are short and uninterested. When you talk, it feels like he is mentally somewhere else, barely listening to what you have to say. He may avoid deep or meaningful discussions altogether, preferring to keep conversations shallow. If you try to express your emotions, he may change the subject or act like he doesn't care. This lack of communication creates a distance between you that becomes harder to bridge. It's as if he is slowly fading out of your life without saying it directly. The silence between you speaks louder than words ever could. Another painful sign is when he stops making an effort with your friends and family. A man in love understands that your loved ones are important to you and tries to maintain a good relationship with them. But when he starts losing love, he distances himself from them as well. He may avoid family gatherings, make excuses to skip events, or show disinterest when you talk about them. If he used to engage with your friends, he now seems reluctant to be around them. When you ask him to join you for social events, he may act irritated or refuse altogether. This withdrawal is a sign that he no longer sees himself as a part of your world. Instead of strengthening connections, he starts cutting himself off from the people who matter to you. This behavior signals that he is emotionally detaching from not just you, but also your life. His level of effort and physical intimacy also changes significantly. A loving relationship involves more than just physical attraction. It requires emotional closeness and mutual desire. But when love fades, physical affection becomes either non-existent or purely routine. He no longer initiates intimacy the way he used to. If you try to be affectionate, he may pull away or act uninterested. Even when you are physically close, the emotional connection feels absent. There is no passion, no excitement, and no tenderness in his touch. It feels like he is simply going through the motions rather than wanting to be close to you. If he once complimented you or made you feel attractive, those words have now disappeared. The physical distance between you reflects the emotional gap that has grown between you. Without intimacy, the relationship starts to feel more like a duty than a romantic partnership. Another strong indication of fading love is his lack of concern for your happiness. But when he stops loving you, he no longer prioritizes your joy. If something makes you upset, he may act indifferent rather than comforting you. He no longer asks what he can do to make you feel better or considers your feelings in his decisions. When you express what makes you happy, he may act uninterested or make no effort to do those things. It becomes clear that he is no longer invested in making the relationship a source of happiness for you. Instead of caring about your well-being, he seems focused only on himself. This emotional neglect makes you feel like your happiness no longer matters to him at all. His attitude towards spending quality time together also changes. In the past, he may have planned dates, surprised you with thoughtful gestures, or made time for shared experiences. But now, he avoids spending meaningful time together unless absolutely necessary. If you suggest doing something special, he may seem uninterested or make excuses to avoid it. When you do spend time together, it feels forced, as if he make sarcastic remarks, belittle your opinions, or act as if you are always wrong. Instead of being your biggest supporter, he now feels like someone who constantly puts you down. This negativity creates an unhealthy and toxic environment in the relationship. You start to feel like you are walking on eggshells, trying not to trigger his bad mood. When a man no longer sees you in a positive light, it's a strong sign that his love is fading. When love begins to fade, these changes in his behavior become more evident. He becomes distant, uninterested, and emotionally unavailable. The effort, care, and connection that once defined your relationship slowly disappear. His actions make it clear that he is no longer invested in the relationship the way he once was.